Um, Good evening, everyone. My name is Teo Kimoboy. I'm currently the nominating committee chair-elect on the APTA Student Assembly Board of Directors. And I'm going to be talking tonight about the student assembly elections that are currently going on. I'll also be joined with James Anderson, who's currently our director of membership. So James, if you could join us, please.
How's it going, Teo?
How you doing? How you doing? If you can just explain to everybody a little bit about your position right now and how that's been for you on the Student Assembly Board of Directors.
Sure. So, as you introduced, I am the director of membership on the Student Assembly Board of Directors, and I work very closely with the vice president on the Student Assembly Board to collaborate with core ambassadors, state core ambassadors, and student SIG leaders from around the country with the idea that collaboration is king. And we just kind of facilitate discussions and how to solve problems regionally and working to um, interconnect the DPT and PTA schooling experience.
Awesome, awesome. So pretty much for those of you who don't understand, what is currently the Student Assembly Board of Directors? What do we do? So we are here to serve you, all the students across the country, the 30,000 plus SPTs and SPTAs that are around. We are here to make sure that everything goes smoothly across the year and also create opportunities for others. So currently we had the applications open up in May. It went through June. We had a process of interviewing the candidates throughout July. So we, as in the nominating committee, I'm also joined by Gustavo Martinez and Patrick Suiji, who are also the nominating committee chair and the nominating committee member. So the three of us this summer, we went through and interviewed a lot of amazing candidates, and then we were able to slate them in August, and now they've currently been going through that process. So we have a link on apta.org that you can go to find more information about those students and a little bit more about why they're running and why you should vote for them. Also, you can go to Instagram and you can see different features that we have through the highlights that will go through those videos. And again, we'll explain a little bit more why they were interested in running, as well as some information from previous or current board members that have their highlights in terms of day in the life, things that they enjoyed the most about being on the board, and just a lot of the things you don't get to see outside of just us talking about our current positions. So James, also we have something that's going to be going on. So if you are a student and you go and vote and cast a ballot, you will be enrolled into something that you can be winning for the Score Builders Base Camp opportunity. So with that, you can have the annual Basecamp Score Builder subscription, or you can have the study guide book. And so again, you're kind of like, what does that mean, or how is that going to benefit me? James, you can just explain a little bit more into detail about why you think that that particular subscription and book can be beneficial.
Sure. So I can be a score builder success story, if you will. I used it to guide my studying during my last clinical. The way they break it down into bite-sized pieces and then give you clinical questions to kind of test where you're at with different concepts, maybe stuff that you didn't hit on maybe as well in your program, or areas where you feel very strong but just want to tune up. It was great. It made studying for the MPTE much more manageable. I didn't feel like I was drowning in stress. It was just every day, every other day, let's go over a concept, let's review it. And then what I loved about the base camp was they had interactive video assessments and games that you could play along the way, because um, even if you're the most incredible student ever, I know day in and day out studying textbook can get a little bit monotonous. So I really thought Basecamp was helpful for me, and they've got an app to go along with it. So if you're just kind of on the go and instead of scrolling through social media, feel productive and help you study for the MPTE.
Awesome, awesome. And so just going back to, again, what we kind of do on the Student Assembly Board of Directors, if we can just talk a little bit into what were our favorite parts about being on the board. So I can go first, really. So going through the process, understanding that I really wanted to help people make those connections and understand where they lie in terms of their role for APTA and how they can develop their own leadership skills. So for me, the best part was just going and networking with all students across the country. Now, being that we were in a state of COVID and that we can't necessarily always have those in-person connections, for me, it was still okay to be having those emails, having text messages, phone calls to just see where students lie in terms of their interests, not even first asking them what roles do they think that they see themselves in within APTA, but more so just what are you interested in? What do you like to do? Where do you see yourself in the future? Because just from those little conversations, you build more relationships with the students that will eventually be your colleagues in the profession, but also as well, you're going to be helping them understand as you understand where their interests are. Okay, now I think that person might be a director of membership type of person, or they might be more for the SIG leader roles, because it's not always about just our student assembly board of directors as well. There are definitely a lot more positions that are across the board. So James, if you can just talk a little bit into why you've enjoyed this process, or why you've enjoyed your position so much.
I mean, it's going to sound a lot like your answer, to be honest, because in a COVID world where we were limited in how much we could do, I thought it was so interesting that in my role that I could be in the same meeting talking to student leaders in California as well as in Maine, polar opposite sides of the planet, and yet they come together to collaborate and solve each other's issues, or ways to just make things better. This whole experience has just taught me that, your education is good. I think all programs are awesome, but you get a true sense of the magnitude of what it's like to be a PT or PTA student when you branch outside of that box and you go, oh wow, that's a really interesting way of putting it. My instructor didn't put it this way, and then you just find things that click. And even more so when you chat virtually, but then meet up at a conference like we had the luxury of going to the centennial celebrations and meeting people for the first time in person as opposed to being virtual was just really, really cool. And I feel like I've made some lifelong lasting friendships to this whole opportunity. So yeah, I don't regret this position for the world. And I really feel like we make of this experience as students while we're in school what we make of it. So anybody that's interested in pursuing a leadership position, I encourage you, if not this, this slate is obviously closed. I want you to go vote for current candidates, but don't be afraid to step into a role and just branch out. There's plenty of people willing to start that conversation with you.
Yes, I 100% agree. And just to add a little bit more into that, when you think of just us meeting all together for the first time, but also we're 10 people from almost completely different realms across the country right now. Like even for me, I'm in New York and James is in Nevada. So just the differences there, and other people also on the West Coast, and being able to see things that we do have similarities, and also ways that things are different. So I've definitely enjoyed being with this group, and I will miss everybody on the current board. But again, that's why we are here tonight to talk about the next upcoming board, because the voting process that's going to be ending Saturday, November 6th. So again, we are going to ask you to please go on to the apta.org website and search for the student elections, because on that page you'll be able to see the candidate statements. You'll be able to see the links to interviews that were on YouTube. You'll be able to go to social media like on Instagram and be able to view all the different content that the students have made. And also you can go and ask questions. A lot of these students are vocal on their Instagram and Twitter pages. If there's something that you see that might pique your interest, or you want to elaborate a little bit more from them, you can go and reach out to these students, because they're more than happy to explain their current reasons for why they are running on the student for the board. And so again, just to wrap things up, we have had the elections opened for a month, and they will be ending on Saturday, November 6th. Please take a look at all of the candidates in order to make an informed decision. When you go to make your cast your ballot, you can keep it open on preview, but if you want to select your full slate for the board, make sure that you hit the submit ballot. That's going to be where you make your final changes, and once that's submitted, you cannot make any edits to that. But just to leave you with final remarks, I think, again, it's just important to understand that this is something that's a lot bigger than you, and you might not understand as much how much impact you can make on other students, and not even just students, but clinicians' lives as well throughout the years, and things that will make a long lasting effect, especially when we're talking about the centennial year, and being that how can we move this profession forward for the next 100 years. It's going to start with us students, and so whether it's looking at the current slate and looking at these future leaders, there are definitely other ways that you can get involved. So if you're a student who's watching this and you're like James was saying, you're like, ah, like I missed it. I wasn't ready for this application. Well, it's okay. We still have things that are going to be going on past the elections on November 6th. So definitely be sure to tune in for the more information on that. And James, do you have any other last remarks for us?
Nope, you really hit on it right there. This whole experience being a PT or PTA student flies by so quickly. Don't miss this opportunity to take part in the process and learn more about how you can get involved. Even if you have zero leadership experience, I promise you there is a spot for you to step up into if you're interested. And if a position isn't available in your state, we will find an opportunity for you. That's all I got for everybody.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And so again, thank you for watching this APTA Live. My name is Taylor Kimoboy, currently the nominating committee chair-elect on the APTA Student Board of Directors. And I hope you have a great night and great afternoon.